What would you do if your own son called you a bitch after using you for 10 years? I raised him. I sacrificed everything. And still, he spat in my face. Literally. But what happened next changed both our lives forever. My dear, your feedback means so much to me. Please let me know where you're watching from and whether you enjoyed this story. It's truly, truly important to me. Thank you so much. My name is Mabel Watson. I'm 66 years old, and I've lived long enough to know the weight of silence and the power of breaking it. The skin on my hands is wrinkled and worn, like old leather pulled too tight, like paper folded and unfolded too many times. I have laugh lines that haven't laughed in years and eyes that have seen too much, especially lately. I've buried a husband, raised a child, paid off a house, and now I sit in a living room that used to feel like mine, wondering how the hell I got here. A mother slapped down by her own damn son. His name is Jeremy. He's 30 now. Tall, loud, with that heavy way of walking like the world owes him something. But once, he was just my little boy, who used to sleep curled up like a bean against my chest. I used to rub his back in circles to calm his nightmares. I used to whisper prayers over him when he was sick. I bought him Legos when I couldn't even afford bread. And now, he stands over me like a storm waiting to strike, eyes cold, lips curled into some bitter thing I don't even recognize. It all started, or maybe it ended, 3 nights ago. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, just the two of us. I'd cooked his favorite, fried catfish, sweet cornbread, collard greens with turkey necks, and peach cobbler, all from scratch. The house smelled like it used to smell when his father, Jack, was still alive. I set the table with cloth napkins, lit one of those vanilla candles he used to like as a kid, and even played Otis Redding on the stereo. I tried to make it special. I tried to make it feel like home. And he walked in already angry. He didn't look at the food, didn't sit down, didn't even take off his jacket. He just stood there in the doorway, tall and trembling, with a cheap bottle of liquor in one hand and his phone in the other. "You got my money or what?" he said. Just like that, like a stranger. Not, "Hey Ma," or "Dinner smells nice," or "How was your day?" Just a demand. Cold and mean. I'd heard that tone before, too many times. I knew what came next. He'd ask for money. I'd tell him no. He'd raise his voice. I'd flinch. Then I'd cave. But not this time. "Jeremy," I said slowly, my voice barely above a whisper, "you need to sit down, eat something. You don't look well." He scoffed. "Don't play that shit with me, Ma. You know damn well why I came." "I said no," I replied, this time firmer. "I'm not giving you another cent. I told you last week. I'm done. You need to get help, son. You need to—" "Help?" He cut me off with a laugh. Not the kind of laugh you want to hear from someone you love. It was sharp, mean, and full of something I didn't have a name for. Then he threw the bottle. Not at me, thank God, but across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Glass and booze dripping down like tears on plaster. "Don't you dare talk to me like I'm some fucking loser, you hear me?" he yelled. "You owe me, Ma, after everything I put up with after Dad died, after all the shit I had to go through." I stood. Slow. Calm. "You put up with?" I said, my voice shaking. "Baby, you didn't put up with anything. I buried that man with my own 2 hands. I worked double shifts so you could keep going to school. I paid for your rehab, your lawyers, your goddamn traffic tickets. I did that, me, and you. You haven't lifted a finger since." That's when it happened. He stepped closer, real close. Close enough that I could smell the whiskey on his breath and see the red in his eyes. And then, like he was spitting acid, he said it. "You're just an old, bitter bitch. That's all you ever been. A broke, bitter bitch." For a moment, everything froze. I didn't hear the music anymore, didn't smell the food, didn't feel my hands. I just disappeared, like my soul left my body. and hovered over the room, watching this horror unfold from somewhere far away, and then I came back. I spit. Right in his face, a thick, angry spit that hit his cheek and slid down slow. Then my hand flew. I slapped him hard. The kind of slap that echoes in your ears and rattles in your bones. He staggered back, stunned, one hand over his face. The look in his eyes was half shock, half something else. Maybe fear, maybe shame, maybe both. "You don't ever," I said, my voice calm and low, "ever speak to your mother like that again." He didn't say a word, just turned, stormed out the door, and slammed it behind him hard enough to shake the picture frames. And then I sat down and cried. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours. The food got cold, the candle burned low, and Otis kept singing softly in the background, like nothing had happened. I stared at the shattered glass on the floor, wondering how many pieces of myself I'd been picking up all these years, how many times I'd swept my heart under the rug just to keep the peace. I kept thinking, what did I do wrong? When did my baby turn into this angry, empty man? Was it when his father died? Was it when I let things slide the first time he cursed at me? Or the 10th? No. The truth is, it didn't happen all at once. It was slow, like rust on a fence, like mold in the corners of your house. It creeps in while you're trying to survive, and one day you look up and realize your whole life's been rotting from the inside out. But that night, something changed in me. I wasn't going to take it anymore. I didn't care if he never spoke to me again. I didn't care if I died alone in that house. I'd rather live with dignity than be used one more day by the boy I brought into this world. The boy who used to kiss my hand and call me his queen before he learned how to take without giving anything back. But what happened after that? Oh, baby, if only you knew what was coming. Because the slap, that was just the beginning. What Jeremy did next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned. After that night, something inside me broke, but something stronger rose in its place. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I sat in my recliner with a blanket over my lap, staring at the dark window, like it held answers. The streetlight cast a yellow glow over the front porch, flickering every few minutes like it couldn't decide if it still had any power left. Just like me. Every hour, I'd glance at the phone, wondering if Jeremy would call. He didn't. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not the day after that either. And for the first time in years, I didn't chase after him. I didn't text. I didn't call. I didn't send you hungry, Pasa, or let's talk. I didn't remind him of how much I loved him or beg him to come home. I didn't apologize. Not for the slap, not for the spit, not for standing up for myself. Because I realized something in that silence. I had been apologizing my whole damn life. For being too loud. For being too soft. For not having enough. For giving too much. For needing a little peace. For being tired. For being alive. That morning, I made myself a real breakfast for the first time in months. Just for me. 2 eggs over easy, a little grits, and a side of crispy bacon. I sat down with a fresh cup of coffee. No phone, no TV, no noise. Just me. The sunshine creeping through the blinds, and the sound of birds arguing on the power line. And I chewed slow. Intentionally. I tasted every bite like it was the first meal of my freedom. That slap. It wasn't just for Jeremy. It was for every time I let someone walk all over me and said, "It's okay." It was for every Christmas he showed up drunk and left early with an envelope of cash. It was for every time I waited at the window, hoping to see his car pull in the driveway like he used to when he was 16 and still believed I hung the damn moon. It was for me. You see, Jeremy wasn't always like this. When Jack died, cancer, quick and cruel, Jeremy was 20, barely a man. They were close. Too close sometimes. Jack was a good husband, but a soft father. He never told Jeremy no, never made him work for what he got. I think he felt guilty for not being around enough, for missing birthdays, for all those years in the military. So he gave him everything. A car at 17, a new Xbox every year, Jordans he didn't earn, praise he didn't understand. Jack used to say, "Let him have a better life than I did." And Lord, didn't we both try. But when Jack passed, something in Jeremy cracked. He started drinking, disappearing for days, coming back with excuses and bloodshot eyes. I'd find strange numbers in his pockets, girls calling the house at midnight, missed classes, broken furniture, a rage I didn't know how to handle. I tried to love it out of him. I thought, if I just give a little more, maybe I can fix him. I sold Jack's old truck to cover his rent when he got kicked out of his dorm, took out a payday loan to pay for his DUI, lied to the pastor about why he wasn't at church, told folks he was just going through a phase, but that phase turned into a decade. 10 years of watching him fall and pretending he was flying. 10 years of enabling, of covering, of praying until my knees hurt and my soul went numb. And what did I get? He called me a bitch, in my own house, on a night I cooked his favorite damn meal. So no, I wasn't going to break anymore. Not for him, not for anyone. 3 days passed, still no word, and then a knock at the door. I froze. My hands were inside a bowl of warm, soapy water, washing the same plate for the 3rd time. I turned off the faucet, listened. Another knock, louder this time. I dried my hands on my apron and made my way to the front door. My legs felt heavy, not from fear, but from the weight of possibility. Maybe it was Jeremy. Maybe he was here to scream at me again. Or maybe, just maybe, he was here to say sorry. But when I opened the door, it wasn't him. It was Patrice, my neighbor, 62, a little nosy, a lot sweet, with a heart bigger than her hairdo. She had a peach cobbler in her hands and a look of concern written all over her face. "Hey, baby," she said gently. "You okay? Been a while since I seen you. Heard yelling the other night. Everything all right?" I nodded too quickly. She didn't buy it. "Come on," she said, handing me the cobbler and stepping inside without waiting for permission. "Sit down. Tell me what happened." And I did. I told her everything. From the slap to the bottle on the wall, to the years of silence and sacrifice that came before it. I talked and cried and laughed and cursed. She listened without judging, just nodding and refilling my tea like we were in some old church basement at a women's circle. When I finished, she leaned back and looked at me with that face she made when she was about to drop some wisdom. "Mabel," she said, "you ain't wrong. You just finally stood up straight." Later that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about her words. "You just finally stood up straight." Was that what I did? Was it really that simple? That powerful? I thought about my mama. She'd been tough as nails, worked 2 jobs, never took nonsense from anybody, not even my daddy. I used to be scared of how strong she was, used to think she was cold. But maybe she wasn't cold. Maybe she just knew that the world wouldn't hand you respect unless you demanded it. Maybe I forgot that somewhere along the way. Maybe loving Jeremy so much made me forget how to love myself. But I was remembering now, one day at a time. The next morning, I made a list. A real list, not a grocery list, not a to-do list. A list of things I wouldn't tolerate anymore. No more yelling in my house. No more money handouts. No more guilt. No more being afraid of my own child. No more pretending. No more shrinking. And at the bottom, I wrote, "I am still someone's mother, but I am also still a woman." That list went on my fridge, right under a photo of me and Jack at our wedding. Young and glowing, holding hands under a magnolia tree. I looked at that photo and whispered, I hope you're proud of me now. Because I was proud of me. Even if Jeremy wasn't, even if the world didn't understand, even if it took me 66 years and a slap to remember who I was. But just when I thought it was over, when I thought the storm had passed, something else happened, something I never saw coming. If you thought the slap was the end, think again, because the knock that came next, it opened a door I never wanted to walk through, but I had no choice. Stay with me. It was a Wednesday. I remember because the trash bins were still out by the curb, and the neighborhood kids were riding their bikes in that circle they always made near the stop sign, giggling, shouting, free. It was the kind of day that tries to pretend the world is still gentle, the kind that lies to your face with sunlight. I was in the kitchen, peeling sweet potatoes for a pie I wasn't even sure I'd bake. My hands needed something to do. My heart didn't. And then it happened. That knock. Slow, heavy, familiar. 3 beats. Pause. 2 more. I froze mid-peel. My hands dripping orange starch. The peeler clattered into the sink like a gun hitting tile. I walked to the door. Each step loud in the silence. My slippers dragging against the tile like I was walking through water. My breath caught somewhere deep in my chest. I opened it. Jeremy stood there. But he wasn't alone. He looked like hell, unshaven. Eyes sunken in. Hoodie half-zipped. His once pristine Jordans scuffed and wet at the soles. His jaw was tight. Not with rage this time, but something else. Something like dread. Beside him stood a woman, maybe 25. Skinny as a matchstick, blonde extensions halfway hanging out her scalp, neck tattoo peeking above her collar, mascara smudged like she hadn't slept in days. Her hands were shoved deep in the pockets of an oversized jean jacket that might have once been hers, or his. I didn't recognize her, but I recognized the look in her eyes. Desperation. I said nothing. Jeremy cleared his throat. Ma, can we talk? I raised an eyebrow. We? He glanced at her and then back at me. Yeah. This is Crystal. She gave me a half smile, one of those tight, performative ones. I didn't smile back. He shifted his weight like a teenager caught sneaking in after curfew. We just need a place to crash. For a night, maybe 2. I stared at him. At her. At the ghost of the man I once called my baby. I thought of all the nights I waited for his call, all the mornings I cleaned up his messes, all the times I prayed until my knees went numb. And now he stood here, asking, not apologizing. But something in his eyes stopped me. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't yelling. He looked small, like that scared little boy again. The one who used to climb into bed with me when thunder rolled outside. The one who whispered, "Hold me, Mama," into the dark. And I didn't know whether to slam the door or pull him into my arms. So I did neither. I stepped aside. 2 nights, I said. No warmth, no welcome, just a boundary. He nodded. She murmured, "Thanks." They stepped inside, like ghosts crossing a threshold. The next hours were a blur. I offered no meal, no blanket, no conversation. I watched them from the corner of my eye. Jeremy went straight to the couch and sat with his head in his hands. Crystal disappeared into the bathroom for almost 30 minutes. I could hear her crying behind the door, but I didn't ask why. I wasn't ready to care. At around 10, I turned off the TV, wiped down the counters, and headed to my room. Before I closed the door, I said, loud enough for both to hear, "No drugs, no yelling, no stealing. You break one rule and you're out. I don't care where you go, understand?" A muffled, "Yes, ma'am," floated through the hall. And that was that. But I couldn't sleep. Not really. Not with Jeremy back under my roof. Not with some strange girl crying in my bathroom, and my heart clenched in confusion. Part of me wanted to believe this was the beginning of something better. Part of me knew better than to believe anything at all. And then, around midnight, I heard the floor creak. Old wood, hallway, 2 steps, a pause. I sat up. Another step, then a soft knock at my door. I didn't answer. I just waited. "Ma?" His voice was small, hoarse. "Can I come in?" I closed my eyes, then opened them. Doors open. He pushed it slowly and stepped inside, barefoot, hoodie off, his curls messy and damp at the edges. He sat at the edge of my bed like he used to when he was sick. For a moment, neither of us spoke. And then, he cried, not loud, not dramatic. Just quiet, steady tears that rolled down his face like a faucet left slightly open. "I messed up," he said. I didn't say anything. I didn't touch him. I let the silence carry his confession. I said things I can't take back. Did things I don't even recognize. I don't know who I am anymore. His voice cracked. "I miss Dad. I miss being good. I miss you, Mama." That broke something in me, because for all the rage and heartbreak he'd given me over the years, I'd missed him too. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said. I needed to come back. I didn't know where else to go. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in years, I saw not just the man, but the child he used to be, hiding behind the mess he'd made of his life, and I whispered the truth I hadn't let myself say in a long, long time. "I never stopped loving you, Jeremy. But love don't mean letting someone burn the house down around you. You understand that now?" He nodded, wiped his face. "I do. I really do." And then he stood. "I'm gonna sleep now," he said. "Thank you for not closing the door." He walked out. I lay back down, and for the first time in weeks, I slept. But morning was coming, and with it, the truth about Crystal, and that was a whole new storm I wasn't ready for. Who is Crystal really, and why does her past threaten to burn everything down, again? You won't believe what she leaves behind. Her name was Crystal, but there was nothing clear about her. The next morning, the house smelled like bacon. It wasn't me. I hadn't even gotten out of bed yet. I lay there for a second, disoriented. Bacon, eggs, coffee. I sat up slowly, rubbed my eyes, and listened. The faint sound of a skillet, the shuffle of slippers on linoleum, and humming. Someone was humming in my kitchen. I wrapped my robe around me, slid my feet into my house shoes, and made my way down the hallway. My back ached the way it always did after I slept too long on one side. A reminder that time was no longer my friend, just a roommate I hadn't asked for. When I reached the kitchen, I stopped. Crystal was standing at my stove, wearing one of my aprons, humming like she owned the place. She had a spatula in one hand and her phone propped up on the counter, playing some soft R&B. Jeremy wasn't anywhere in sight. "Morning, Miss Mabel," she said with a smile. "Too bright, too rehearsed. Hope you don't mind. I figured I'd make breakfast, least I could do." I said nothing at first, just watched her. Long acrylic nails tapping the edge of the pan. Thin arms covered in bruises she didn't bother hiding. Hair tied up in a messy bun with what looked like a child's scrunchie, and a cheap engagement ring on her left hand. "Jeremy asleep?" I asked flatly. She nodded. "Yeah, he was up most the night. Told me y'all had a real deep talk." She turned back to the stove. "He's really trying, you know, like really. He told me this is the first time he's felt safe in a long time." I didn't reply, because I didn't know what to say. I appreciated the breakfast, sure, but there was something about her that didn't sit right. Not yet. Not fully. And then her phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen. A text. From someone labeled Daddy. But the message wasn't sweet or playful. It read, "You better have it by tonight or I'll come get it myself. You know the rules." Crystal snatched the phone up quickly, turning it face down. Too late. I saw it. I saw her freeze. Just for a second. Like a deer who realizes the headlights weren't just lights. They were coming for her. She didn't say a word, just flipped the eggs and kept humming. But the damage was done. Something was wrong. Later that day, Jeremy woke up late. Still groggy, still quiet. But better. Clearer. He helped me fold laundry, which shocked the hell out of me. He even fixed the leaking bathroom faucet without being asked. We didn't talk much, but the silence between us was no longer a war zone. More like a garden left untended. Quiet, but not dead. But Crystal? She was a shadow all day, answering calls in hushed tones, sneaking out the front door and coming back with plastic bags full of junk, claiming she was running errands, but never explaining where. And then, around 6 p.m., she left and didn't come back. Not by 7, not by 8, not by midnight. Jeremy paced the living room like a dog trapped in a cage. "I don't like this," he muttered. "She ain't answering. Her phone goes straight to voicemail." I sat on the couch, arms crossed, eyes locked on him. "She do this often?" He looked up. "Sometimes, but not like this." I told her this was different, that we were safe here, That word hit me like a slap. She wasn't safe. I wasn't safe. Not if that message meant what I thought it meant. "Jeremy," I said slowly. "Who is she really?" He blinked. "What you mean?" "I mean, what kind of trouble is she in, and what kind of trouble did she bring into my house?" He flinched like I'd hit him. "She's clean," he said quickly. "She's just going through stuff." "Stuff like what?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know, or didn't want to admit it. At around 3 a.m, I heard the knock again. Same rhythm, same pause. But when I opened the door, it wasn't her. It was a man. Tall, heavy, face like a stone, tattooed hands, gold teeth, eyes that looked through me, not at me. Behind him, a black SUV with tinted windows idled at the curb. "You Mabel?" he asked. I didn't answer. He stepped forward, close enough I could smell his cologne. Thick and artificial, like someone trying too hard to cover rot. "Crystal here." "She's not," I said, my voice low and firm. He stared at me a beat longer than necessary. "You tell her she owes me," he said, almost pleasant. "And I collect what I'm owed, one way or another." Then he smiled, turned, got in the SUV, and disappeared down the block like smoke. I closed the door with shaking hands, and that was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about Jeremy anymore. Crystal had brought the devil to my doorstep, and I was going to have to choose, kick them both out for good, or get dragged into a fire I might not survive. When the past kicks down the door, what do? Run, fight, or forgive? Don't miss what comes next. The devil doesn't always knock loud. Sometimes, he whispers. The morning after that visit, if you can even call it morning when the sun hasn't yet shown its face, I sat at my kitchen table, gripping a cup of coffee that had gone cold 2 hours earlier. I hadn't slept, not even a wink. That man's face kept flashing in my mind. Those eyes, empty like a coffin. That smile, practiced like someone who'd done terrible things and stopped counting. I couldn't forget the way he said it. I collect what I'm owed. There was no mistaking it. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. And I had let her into my house. I had let them both in. What had I done? Jeremy woke up around 8. His hair was messy, face still swollen with sleep. He rubbed his eyes like a child, shuffled into the kitchen barefoot, and mumbled, "Morning, Ma." I didn't answer. I just pointed to the empty chair across from me. He sat, sensing something heavy in the air. "She didn't come home," he said after a moment. "I know. I don't get it. She said she was done with all that. Said we were going to get clean, find work. She even talked about getting baptized." I raised an eyebrow. "Before or after she invited a loan shark to my porch at 3 a.m. Jeremy's eyes snapped to mine. "What?" I told him everything. The knock, the SUV, the man, the words. Every detail. He turned pale. His lips parted like he wanted to deny it. But he couldn't. He knew I wasn't lying. He knew who I'd seen. "His name's Ronelle," he whispered. "She used to work for him. Well, not work. More like run things." "What kind of things?" He looked away. "You don't want to know." "Yes," I said coldly. "Yes, I do." Because he came to my door, sat on my steps, said my name. Jeremy exhaled like a man deflating. "She used to be a runner, deliver packages, sometimes pills, sometimes worse. I didn't ask questions. I didn't care back then. I was high too. We met at a shelter. She was clean when I met her." He looked at me like a boy caught stealing. I swear to God, Ma, I didn't know she still owed him. I stood. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steel. "You got 24 hours, both of you. Then you leave. For good. I'm not dying in this house because y'all brought demons in through the back door." He opened his mouth. To beg, to explain, I don't know. But I cut him off. 24 hours, Jeremy." Then I walked away. Into the bedroom. And that's when I found it. I was changing the sheets. Something I did every Sunday morning, like ritual, like cleansing, when I noticed something sticking out from under the bed frame. Just barely. Like a corner of fabric where it shouldn't be. I knelt down, knees cracking, back aching, and reached. It was a purse. Small, worn leather, stained with something dark along the bottom. Not mine. I opened it. Inside, a burner phone with dozens of missed calls from Daddy. A folded envelope full of cash, maybe $5,000, a plastic baggie, with something white inside. And at the very bottom, a Glock. A loaded damn Glock. I dropped the purse like it was on fire. Backed away. My whole body went cold. I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the weapon, like it might grow legs and shoot me itself. This girl hadn't just brought trouble to my doorstep, she brought war. For a few long moments, I couldn't breathe. My fingers tingled. My heart pounded like it was trying to leave my chest. The world spun in slow circles. I thought I might pass out, but I didn't. I stood. I walked straight to the hallway and yelled, "Jeremy!" He came running like a boy who'd heard the belt come off. I threw the bag at his feet. "Explain," I said. He looked down. His eyes widened. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "No," I snapped. "Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this." He bent down, opened the bag, and stared at the gun like it betrayed him. I didn't know she had this. I swear. My voice rose, loud, sharp, cutting. "You brought a girl into my house who's hiding from drug dealers, carrying dirty money, holding drugs and a gun. And you didn't know?" He flinched. "She said she was done." Well, she wasn't. I pointed to the front door. "You've got 12 hours now. Ma, please." "No, you don't get to please me anymore. You can stay, or she can, but not both. And if that gun's still in my house by sundown, I'm calling the police myself." He looked broken, but I didn't care, because for the first time in years, I was choosing me. I sat in the backyard after that, watched the wind play with the dry leaves like children too young to know death. I thought of Jack, of how he would have handled all this, probably would have tried to fix it, would have sat Jeremy down and talked him off a cliff. But Jack was gone, and I was the one holding the cliff now. Alone. The sun dropped slow across the fence line, and as the shadows grew longer, I wondered, would Jeremy choose me? Would he finally choose to be a man? Or would he walk out into the dark with her and leave me behind one more time? Because the clock was ticking, and I wasn't waiting forever. But the consequences, oh Lord, even I didn't see that part coming. You better stay with me. It's about to get real. 12 hours, that's all I gave him. But what he did in the last hour, it broke something and rebuilt something else. Don't look away. This is the moment everything changed. He had to choose between her chaos and my love. The day stretched like a rubber band, tight, tense, trembling on the edge of snapping. Jeremy disappeared after our argument. Didn't say where he was going, just walked out, head low, keys jangling in his fist. No jacket, no explanation. Crystal still hadn't returned. The house felt hollow, like all the air had been sucked out and replaced with silence, the kind that rattles in your bones, the kind that makes the walls feel like they're listening. I stood in the kitchen, chopping onions with more force than necessary. The knife hit the cutting board like a gavel. My eyes stung, but I couldn't tell if it was from the onions or from the weight of everything pressing down on me. Why did it come to this? I raised this boy with love, with faith, with meals made from nothing and prayers whispered over his sleeping body. I gave him every piece of me, and still he chose a world that wanted to chew him up and spit him out. And yet, I still waited, still hoped, still prayed. Even as I chopped those onions, I whispered, Lord, either bring him back to me whole, or give me the strength to finally let go. He came back at 6:47 p.m, 12 hours on the dot. I saw his shadow through the glass of the front door before I heard the key. Slow, hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he had the right to come home. He stepped inside, and I saw it immediately. He looked different. Eyes clearer, shoulders higher, hands empty. Where's Crystal? I asked. Gone, he said simply. Gone where? He swallowed hard. Rehab. I dropped her off an hour ago. I stared at him, heart caught in my throat. She went willingly? He nodded. She was scared. Of Ronell. Of herself. Of what she brought into your house. He paused. And so was I. He walked into the kitchen and reached into his back pocket. He placed the gun on the counter, wrapped in a towel, unloaded. I took care of it, he said. It's gone. Forever. I sat down, knees too weak to hold me. Jeremy stood across from me like a man facing judgment. I can't take back the last 10 years, Ma. I can't erase what I said to you, or what I became. He looked down, then back up, and his voice cracked. But I don't want to be that man anymore. I want to be your son again. My lips trembled. Are you clean? I asked. He nodded. 12 days. Are you lying? He shook his head, and then he fell to his knees, a grown man, 30 years old, crying into the hem of my skirt like he was 5 again. I'm sorry, Mama, he sobbed. I'm so damn sorry. I let him cry, let him soak the fabric, let him empty himself. And then slowly, I lowered myself to the floor beside him and wrapped my arms around his shaking body. You're still my son, I whispered, even when I couldn't find you. We sat like that until the sun slipped below the horizon. When we finally stood, I looked at him and said, now the real work begins. And he nodded. Because he knew. Getting clean was one thing. Staying clean, staying honest, staying kind, staying present, that was the war. But for the first time in years, I saw him willing to fight it. Over the next week, things changed. Small things at first. He made breakfast, took out the trash, helped me prune the rose bushes that had overgrown in the backyard. He didn't ask for money, didn't snap when I corrected him, didn't hide. I caught him one morning sitting on the porch steps reading the Bible, just sitting there with the book in his lap, lips moving slow, like he was learning how to speak to God again. We didn't talk about Crystal much, but I knew he called the rehab every night, checked in, made sure she was staying, that she was safe. There was a softness in his voice when he said her name, but no desperation, no codependence, just care. And that was new. One night, maybe 2 weeks after the day I gave him that deadline, he brought me something. It was an envelope. Inside, a receipt from a local diner. He'd gotten a job, dishwasher, graveyard shift. Not much, but honest. "I just want to start somewhere," he said, "even if it's at the bottom." And I smiled, because that's how we all start, isn't it? From the bottom, from the pain, from the mess, from the moment we choose to stop running and start climbing. And yet, just when I started to breathe again, when I thought the worst was over, when I believed I could trust this peace, a letter came in the mail. No return address, no stamp, just my name, written in a hand I didn't recognize. And what was inside? It brought everything crashing back down. Who sent it? What does it say? And why? Did it have blood on the envelope? You do not want to miss what's next. Just when we found peace, the past came knocking. That letter wasn't just a warning. It was a trap, one that could cost my son his second chance. Don't go anywhere. You need to see what was inside. It was a Tuesday. Sunlight poured through the kitchen window, soft and forgiving. The kind of light that makes everything look a little better than it is. I had just pulled a peach cobbler out of the oven, Jeremy's favorite. He was due home from work in an hour. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon, butter, and hope. Then I heard it, the flap of the mailbox. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, walked to the front door, and pulled out the mail. Bills, a church bulletin, a coupon for window replacement, and then it caught my eye. An envelope, no stamp, no return address, just Mabel, written in all capital letters, shaky, uneven, almost childlike. And there, in the corner of the paper, was a brownish-red smear. My blood ran cold. I brought it inside, set it on the table, and just stared at it. I didn't want to open it, didn't want to know. But some doors, once knocked on, don't let you walk away. I slipped my finger under the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting, no signature, just one sentence. "You think he can change? He still owes, and you're the collateral." I stared at the words so long they blurred. Everything around me faded. The smell of cobbler, the chirp of birds outside, the gentle hum of the refrigerator. All I could see was that sentence. "You're the collateral." It wasn't Crystal's handwriting. It wasn't Jeremy's. But it was someone's. Someone who knew what had happened. Someone who had been watching. Someone who wanted me to know. They weren't done. I read the note again, and again, and again, until the fear turned into something hotter. Anger. I had come too far to be dragged back now. When Jeremy got home, I didn't wait for him to shower. I didn't wait for him to eat. I handed him the letter the moment he walked through the door. He read it once, then twice. His jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. "Was it him?" I asked. His lips were thin, his eyes stormy. "I don't know," he said, "but I got an idea." I sat down, arms folded. "Talk." He looked at me and I saw it again, that war inside him. The man he was now, fighting the boy he used to be. I thought I was done with all of it, he whispered. But maybe it's not done with me. Then finish it, I said. For real this time. Because if you don't, it's not just your life that's on the line. It's mine too. He nodded. I will. That night I couldn't sleep. Again. I lay in bed with the letter on the nightstand like a ticking bomb. I kept playing out worst-case scenarios. The door kicked in at 3 a.m., a car waiting outside with its lights off, Jeremy disappearing without a word. I wanted to believe we were past that, but this letter, it pulled the darkness right back in. Still, part of me wasn't afraid. I was done being afraid. If this was going to be war, I'd fight with the one thing no one could take from me. The truth. And the truth was, I didn't raise a coward, not in Jeremy, not in me. The next morning, he was gone before I woke up. No note, no message, no breakfast dishes in the sink. I waited until noon, then 1, then 2. By 3, I started pacing. By 4, I called the diner. He hadn't shown up for his shift. By 5, I called Crystal's rehab. He hadn't visited. By 6, the sun began to set, and my hands began to shake. And then, just as I reached for my car keys to drive out and find him myself, I heard tires on gravel. I ran to the window. It was Jeremy. But he wasn't alone. He was helping someone out of the back seat. Slowly, carefully. It was Crystal. Bruised, limping, wrapped in a coat that wasn't hers. She looked like she'd seen the devil and lived to tell the tale. I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch, heart racing. Jeremy looked up at me, tears in his eyes. It's done, he said. She's safe. I'm done. For real this time. But as they walked past me and into the house, Crystal pressed something into my hand. A flash drive. No words, just a look. And I knew. We weren't done yet. The truth, the lies, the final piece of this story, it all ends there. You won't believe what I saw. The flash drive was small, red plastic, no label, lightly scratched. I held it in my hand like a matchstick soaked in gasoline. One flick and everything could burn. Jeremy and Crystal were asleep in the guest room, exhausted, emotionally drained. She hadn't said a word since they came in, just curled up under a blanket and disappeared into herself. But I couldn't sleep, not with that drive sitting on the kitchen table like a dare, so I plugged it into the old laptop Jack used to balance our checkbooks. It whirred to life slow, like even the machine wasn't sure it wanted to see what was coming. One folder, no password. It was titled, If I Disappear. My heart skipped. I clicked. Inside were 5 video files, all time-stamped, all recorded within the last 6 months. I watched them, one by, and with every second, my stomach dropped further into the pit of something cold and bottomless. The first video was Crystal, speaking directly to the camera in what looked like a motel bathroom. Her eyes were puffy, makeup smeared, voice shaking. She said names, dates, places, transactions. She talked about Ronell, about how he used women like her to run drugs, clean money, seduce officers, and disappear when it got too hot. She talked about beatings, about girls who never came back, about threats made with smiles. And she said something else. He doesn't just run the streets, she whispered. He runs people. She named 2 detectives, 1 city councilman, and a pastor. I nearly dropped the laptop. The second video was taken from a hidden camera, a phone propped behind a cracked bathroom mirror. Ronell was in it, with 3 men, laughing, counting cash, holding a gun. She won't talk, he said in the video. She knows the rules, and if she does, we still got leverage. Her man's mama? Old, alone, easy. My blood ran ice cold. They had talked about me, like I was a pawn, like I was disposable. And Jeremy never knew. He wasn't the weakness they wanted to exploit. I was. The rest of the videos, conversations, recorded threats, lists of payments, names of girls who'd vanished, all told one story. Crystal hadn't just run from a man, she had escaped an empire, and the drive in my hands, it was evidence, enough to bury him, and maybe everyone connected. I sat in silence for over an hour, just staring at the dark screen, thinking about all the years I'd wasted, afraid of what would happen if I pushed back, about all the times I let people get away with too much in the name of love, in the name of family, in the name of peace. About how many other women were out there, still trapped, still scared, still believing there was no way out. And then I made a decision. I woke Jeremy. He blinked at me in the dark. "You need to listen," I said. "This drive, it's not just about her. It's about them. And if we do nothing, they win. Again." He rubbed his face. "What do you want to do?" I stared at him hard. "We burn the bridge. No turning back. We hand it over. To who? Someone who can't be bought." The next day, I drove 2 towns over to a courthouse I hadn't stepped foot in since Jack's traffic ticket 20 years ago. I didn't speak to the front desk. I didn't call ahead. I walked straight to the district attorney's office with that drive in my coat pocket, clutched like a Bible. And when I sat down across from the assistant DA, a black woman with sharp eyes and no wedding ring, I said, "I don't know if you believe in justice, but I believe in truth, and I brought you some." Then I handed her the flash drive and told her everything. It made the news, not all of it, not the names of the powerful, but enough. Alleged drug ring busted after anonymous tip leads to key evidence. Ronell was arrested. 2 dirty cops resigned quietly. Crystal entered witness protection. And Jeremy? He stayed. Clean, working, steady, healing day by day, reading the Bible on Sundays and fixing sinks on weekdays. He calls me Mama again. Not with shame, but with love. And sometimes when we sit on the porch together, I feel Jack's spirit in the breeze, not in the sadness, but in the strength. Because we made it, not back to what we were, but forward to what we're becoming. And as for me, I've learned that motherhood doesn't end when the child turns 18. It doesn't end when they curse you, hit rock bottom, or walk out the door. It ends when you stop believing they can come back. And I never stopped. Not really. Not ever. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it made you feel something, anything, leave a comment, hit like, and share it with someone who needs to believe that change is possible. Because sometimes, all it takes is one woman who refuses to stay silent.